Hi guys, this is Ridwan from Rare Innovations. Welcome to today's tutorial. So in this tutorial, we'll be talking about the UI design. In my previous video, I already talked about UI UX. So also you can also check that in the link below if you haven't watched through that to learn about the user experience and the steps on how to become a better user experience designer. So in this, I'm going to cover for the guest to laws, accessibility, and we know better about how to design and the famous tool which I'm going to use to also give us an on how to create your designs. We'll be using Figma. So before any further ado, so let's start. So basically, UI design makes your visual design beautiful. When you set your mobile app, when you create a mobile app and create this to be user-friendly and beautiful for them to want more, to see more visual representation is key to this. So that's what we'll be covering up um, these three topics under UI design, and I'll be starting with Gestalt laws. So Gestalt laws, we have five different topic on that, which is law of proximity, common region, law of similarity, law of continuity, and law of closure. So first, which is the law of proximity. So this law of proximity is objects that placed near each other will be visually grouped together, basically. So looking at the example I have here, we can see the first one which choose the right way to do it, and if you're doing it the wrong way as well. So law of proximity is a powerful tool which allows us to create relationships between components based on how close they are to each other, and this also allows us to create a dissociation between components by placing them further away from each other. In the example which we have here, if you notice from here, you notice the distance we have from both, from where we have the name and this second part where we have the email address compared to what we have here, and as well as the proximity between where the name email where we have email address and also name, the distance we have between there. If you notice the name for where this one which we have is which is wrong, you see that the element is far from even where the text field is, same as this. So it makes your design not looking that cool. So we better watch out for that when it comes to spacing of your um, design. If something is you're creating a text field and you want this kind of you want to add a text at the top, so make sure you have the same for the first and the second, and as well as the elements are not far or distance from each other. The only place where you have distance is between these, which is allowed, and it should not be too much. So because it makes it to make the design look off. So that's one of the things you need to know about it. So the second thing which we'll be looking at is common region. So common region is objects. So let's say objects that share an area with a common boundary will be visually grouped together. So from this example, we can see uh, where we have our text same as the previous one, and you can see this added like a container or card to make it more visual. For you to know this, the all of this content is one, unlike this where it has no card or shadow at the bottom. You can see it makes the design look plain, or like if you have different background which is not white like this, it's going to make it look off. So based on law of common region allows us to visually group objects together by placing them within boundaries. So we know this is a card one, card two. If you're let's say you're designing an e-commerce shop, it means each item needs to have its own card to represent that this is a single item, the picture, the name of the item, and the description and all of that. So that's one for this common region. So the next one, which is law of similarity. So objects that are visually similar in size, shape, and or color will be visually grouped together, even if those objects are not near each other. So from this example, we can see the what we have here when it comes to color and visual. This is the correct way. Let's say you have a primary button, it should have like a background color, while the secondary button should have a transparent where the text is going to be the color of what we have on the primary, like the blue color. So we just have it here, and same as it needs to this is where branding comes in, where the colors needs to be unique, needs to be the same across all your designs. So you don't have what we have here. This is a poor design basically. So where we have the primary green, then we are having the secondary a different color which is off this, and we're having the text link with a different color. All of this makes the design not cool. It's not going to look presentable basically. So that's one of the thing of law of similarities. It allows us to create relationships between elements without them even being near each other. This is particularly useful when giving consideration to designing at scale, basically. So a practical implementation of this law is often seen when styling text links, which helps create a pattern for text links across your entire site or product. So that's law of similarity. So the law of continuity. So these objects that are ordered in a line or a curve appear to be related. So where we have a design where you open a menu, and the menu you have you still want to bring up another menu to it. So a lot of continuity is useful for guiding the user's eye from one object to another, which generally happens when items are placed in a line. Elements that are arranged on a line or curve are perceived to be related. This can be seen below in this example where you click on find, and you can see this below. It pops by the side, and with this arrow that gives a guide that when you click on this you should see something at the side. Unlike let's say I create a menu and I'm creating the card to be on the left, and my arrow is pointing to the right, it's not going to make sense, and it's going to confuse the user as well when it clicks on this item in this menu, and I'm having a dialogue or a side menu open to the left. It's going to make the design poor and not cool to the eye basically. So and the last one, which is law of closure. So objects that are visually incomplete will be perceived as a whole by users. So when you're having this is a row, and you're having a row of items which are scrollable to the side. So let's this should be like a mobile view. So when you're having a mobile view and you want items to be in a row, you don't expect those cards to be smaller. So you create them in this format, and this also shows the user that this is one card, this is a card, and the one which is off the view, the users knows that there's another card coming from the side, which gives this a much representation there. Okay, you need to either swipe to the left for you to see the full card for the next card. This way, it makes it's user friendly and user understand what's next and wants to see more. It gives you the user more need to check what's on the other side of that page. So, law of closure states that when you see an image with missing parts, your brain will fill in gaps and create a complete image. So, and this is useful when designing horizontal scrolling section on mobile, as it allows us to partially display components which the user will perceive as a complete image. This is the way, the best way to do such design when you're having displaying an item horizontal, so you want to see more. So that's it for this. So next we'll be going to accessibility. So under accessibility, we have four topics which I will be covering. So one is check your contrast ratio, and the second is touch target sizes. The other one is color blindness, and accessible fonts. So check your contrast ratio. So in order to be accessible, your text needs a strong contrast against its background. So make sure your contrast ratio higher than 1 for large text and over 4.5 ratio 1 for regular text. So from this example, which we have this correct ratio, so we can see the color of this text to this background. So to make it visible and not too of a dark text like the way the I have here. So to make it cool to the eye of the users, you create this kind of contrast where you reduce maybe you set an opacity. Basically you put an opacity on that text color, which is going to give this, instead of putting, let's say, much of opacity where you have this too deep or almost blending with the white background which we have. So this is something you should always uh, look at when designing. So the next one is touch target sizes. So any object that can be interacted with, such as buttons, need to have a minimum target size for of maybe 4 by 44 by 44 CSS pixels. However, it's worth noting that some operating systems such as Apple and Microsoft have their own recommendation on this figure. So for Apple, we have like the Cupertino's icons and the design system. So if you're designing a mobile app for iOS, so you can go to Apple website also to see the design guides on how to create a beautiful design, as well as if it's Android, you do the same, or if it's Flaunt UI, which is owned by Microsoft, or Material UI, which is owned by Google. So if you notice, the size of this button needs to be 44 pixel. If you're having button of 32 pixel, it's really small and slim, so it's even difficult for the user. If you're having multiple buttons, let's say you have additional button at the top here, the chances of you making mistake on clicking the next button instead of this one is high, of like 80% or so. So, as a UI designer, you need to keep watch of the size of your button. Also, this looks, it's also what we call to action. So, it gives that visual representation that yes, this is a button, and you need to click it based on the size and how visual it is to the user. So our next one is color blindness. So as a UI designer, um, we need to take a look at this when designing based on color. So it can be easy to design an interface which seems like it's clear, but consider your colorblind users and check if your UI is still clear in their eyes. The image above shows how the colors of the pie chart can be indistinguishable to a user with this kind of color blindness diseases, so which they can't tell the difference between red and green. So looking at this both these two sections, so let's say this, you can't really tell which color, it's almost blending together, all of them. So and when using colors, you don't use kind of color, this type of colors all in one page, where it causes issues with color blindness. So that's it for color color blindness. And the last one, which is accessible fonts. So where possible, avoid use of display and handwritten text or fonts. So as well as your use of all capitals and italics, as dyslexia can make it harder to read text with this treatment. It is a good practice to use system font default fonts where it makes sense to, and when creating native applications on iOS or Android, recommendation state you use SF Pro or Roboto respectively, will help create a usable and accessible design that is lightweight. So you always use text that are visible and bold enough and clear enough where you can read them, instead of using text which are italic. So it's going to be difficult, especially when you're using this on a mobile phone. It's going to be difficult for you to see all your information and understand what you're actually reading. So imagine you have a news app, and in the news app, which user need to spend their time to read through the news which you have for that day, and all your texts are displayed in Italy and small. It's going to be difficult for the users to read and enjoy what article you've written. So on the next, we have the UI tips. So the UI tips, I'll be talking about mobile first design, skip a font weight, play around with opacity, add a bit of color, line height in dark mode, nail your letter spacing. So the first one, which is the mobile first design. So designing mobile first, philosophy that promotes designing for smaller screens first. It can be beneficial to do this, as it's easier to adapt a design onto larger screens than the other way around. You could also find that the majority of your users are on mobile devices, so it would be beneficial to prioritize this. So in other words, so you need to create your design first on mobile. So create a mobile design first, then you can then extend its responsiveness to the tablet and to the desktop view. So it's much easier. So it gives you time to create your mobile design to be friendly and cool. So for users to, because basically in the world, most of the users uses a mobile phone because it's easy to carry out anywhere to go, like a shopping website. You need to create mobile first, because most of the users will want to quickly order an item on their mobile phone and check out immediately. It needs to be friendly before you start extending to users using tablet and as well as desktop. So your design is consistent that way and easy for you as well as a UI designer. So the next one, which is keep a font weight. So a very simple one, but use the size and weight of your fonts to create a strong enough contrast between levels of the hierarchy. So skipping a weight between your body, which is this, and the heading, which is the delicious meal for the whole family. When setting this weight for both, it creates and it help create a scannable and clear design. So where the heading is bold enough, like this is a topic, and this shows the smaller the body takes a bit lightweight font. This gives the user purpose on what they're reading. So this is a topic of what you're actually looking at underneath. Instead of having the same font, weight, and visual for both, it makes the design weak, basically. So always look into that as well. So the next one, which is play around with opacity, which is very cool in design as well. So opacity is an easier way to make your content legible and build your hierarchy. Using a low opacity on your body copy will help your heading stand out even more. And make sure not to set your opacity too low though, as it could become inaccessible due to having low contrast ratio. So I guess this is explanatory. So you always make sure your body has a lower color. So adding opacity, so it can be black, then you set opacity to reduce the black color to this. So and you can see the heading has a black color, same as the body, but the body you have to set opacity to make it a bit cool, so users can differentiate both. Unlike the this one where both are black and that visual look is not really cool to enjoy. So you can see both the difference. You can see how cool the first one is. So the next one is add a bit of color. So adding a bit of color, you can also use color to create emphasis where required, but it's worth being sensible with this. Overuse of color in your UI can cause a lot of issue. Your call to actions and make your UI look cluttered. So you need to make sure you look into that correctly. So just to make sure that all of this, you can see this color is purple, and this is like we showed in the previous where we have a light this. So you need to look at this when setting your colors, and make sure you have users to take a look at this when you're using your colors on your application text and all of that, so they give their feedback on how it feels when looking at those colors. So you need to be careful about using more colors on text and all of that. So the next one is line height on large text. So you will find that as your font size gets larger, the line height ratio required will reduce. So your titles will have a lower ratio than your body copy. So you can see the larger the text, you can see the line. Even when I wrote this, you can see the line height for this, but it's because it's larger, so it's different from the what we have on the body. So we need to take a look at that. The ratio needs to be 125%. So, and this to make it more visible for the body, it needs to be 150%. So if you're having 125 for the ratio for larger text, and you're having the same thing for the body, it's not going to make it a clear view. So you need to put that into consideration, because the larger the text, it reduces ratio the ratios. So you need to put that into consideration when creating your design. So the next one, which is line height in dark mode. So it's worthwhile considering using a slightly larger line height when using light text on a dark background to help keep your content legible. So we can see both when you create dark modes on your what is it called, on your mobile device or website where you have light mode and dark mode feature. So we need to put this into consideration based on the line height as well. You can see for the one on on light mode, we still take what we have in the previous, which is 125, 150 ratio. So, but when you're on dark mode, you need to increase this a bit, basically because sometimes it looks uh, too thin in light mode and in dark mode, I mean. So it you need to put this in consideration. Sometimes you might have to create your design and using the first one, this default, and when you're on dark mode, it's still cool. But you need to put this into consideration when designing to take a look and compare before you ship your design to being created or for to be approved, basically. So the next one which we have is a nail your letter spacing. So this is the last part we'll be talking on the UI design. So basically, you can use letter spacings to help content fit an aesthetic or brand. Increasing your letter spacing is particularly important when typing in all caps and when words are written in capital letters, they are harder to read. So some additional letter spacing can help with readability. So please note, it is generally harder for users with dyslexia to read words in all caps. So please be considerate when choosing these options. So based on the example we have, which this is correct, we have 4% letter spacing. So why this we have 0% letter spacing. So we need to always put this into consideration when you are creating the branding. So one thing with UI UX is when you're using Figma, which on my next tutorial I'll be talking about that. So you need to take a look at this design system. So first, after you've outlined the kind of design you're going for, you've done your research and all of that, and you're back into the UI design to start building the um, design for the application. So first, you create your design, your style. So all of this, you create them. They're like your text and the spacing between those texts and all of that. So you need to make sure all of these laws and all of these laws and tips are followed for you to create a better design or UI for your users. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and you've learned something new basically on the UI tips and UI laws and for you to create a better design for your users in the so this will be the end of this tutorial, and then the next one we'll be looking at um, starting with Figma as a tool and how to start a production wise um, UI UX design, basically the steps from research to designing your applications. So that will be in the next tutorial that are coming in the future. So thank you for watching. Always stay tuned to my channel, like, subscribe, and also share with your friends. Thank you very much and do have a great day. Remember, think, design, and develop the future today. Thank you.